Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Bree and I'm here today to discuss Ready to Love, Make a Move, episode 7, titled Mixing It Up. Y'all, let's get into it. So we start this episode off with Zadia sitting down, still waiting for Cameron to arrive, because you guys know in last week's episode, it's her birthday party. Basically everyone else's dates are there except for Cameron, so he hasn't shown up. So as the scene is playing, all of a sudden, Cameron walks through the door and Zadia is all smiles. So I'm like, yeah, he better have shown up. So they hug and he gives her a birthday present. So Donald walks over to them and Zadia says to Cameron, that Don asked how they both were doing together. So Cameron responds saying that he feels like they're doing good and they have grown during the process. And, just everything is going great. So I was happy because Cameron, I was about to be on you. So I'm kind of glad that, not kind of, but I am glad that you did show up for Zadia's birthday. So you get some little brownie points for it. Even though you was late, but we know you were working, so it's all good. All right, so next we see Vernisha and Mizell having a drink and talking. So you can see that Charisse is looking over at them and she's kind of like wondering, okay, like what's going on? Like he's my date, but he's over there talking to Vernisha. But, as I was watching the scene, I did see other people's dates mingling with the other ladies. So maybe they were just talking or whatever, just like I've seen with other people, but that was kind of interesting. So anyway, Mizell says, to Vernisha, that she's beautiful. And then he asked her, do you have any guys yet? And she responded saying like, yeah, I did have somebody, but I had to send him home. And, now I'm starting over with the process. So we learn in Vernisha's confessional, she says that although Mizell is Charisse's keeper, she is surprised that he's doing a little flirting with her. But he is nice and he's a good looking gentleman and he has swag. So basically everything is fair game in her eyes. And when she said that, y'all, I was like, wow. And the only reason I'm saying this because, okay, y'all are not best friends or whatever. Y'all clearly are cool being on the show, but also too, you guys live in the same house. So I don't know. I wouldn't put my hands on it. I'm not going to really talk to somebody's, date or whatever, somebody that I'm cool with. Like, to me, no. So I was a bit shocked that Vernisha even said that, but I mean, what you going to do? So back over to Cameron and Zadia, they're talking, and then as they're talking, Ashley walks up with a birthday cake. So Zadia blows out her candles, makes a wish and all that. And then we see throughout the night, everybody's having a good time. They're dancing, talking, whatever, just enjoying Zadia's birthday. So next, we jump on over to a new scene. It's the next day, and the ladies are back at the house. So Vernisha and Ashley are in the kitchen talking, and they both let each other know that they had a good time the previous night at Zadia's birthday party. So Ashley tells Vernisha that she was excited to see Don, and then Vernisha asks her, what happened to Kirsten? Y'all remember him? Yeah, what happened to him because he didn't even show up. So Ashley says that she hasn't heard from him, he hasn't texted her, nothing. And he didn't even let her know that he wasn't going to make it. Then we jump on over to a new scene and we see Zadia and Charisse sitting down at a table. And Charisse asks Zadia, what did she think about the guys last night? So Zadia replies saying that they were interesting and really nice. And then Charisse tells her that with Danzy, the date that kind of got tipsy at the party, she said that she thought that they had a great lunch, which was their blind date, but that he came to the party as if he was her plus one and basically claiming her. And she was like, yeah, he needs to calm down because I'm not his woman, so I don't know what that was about. Then she says that Mizell is so cute and she's starting to like him more. So she also tells Zadia that, he's trying to keep her attention and he's very engaging. Then we go back to Ashley and Vernisha back in the kitchen. So Ashley says to Vernisha, I see that you had some suitors, girl, at the party. So Vernisha lets her know that Cantrell, which was the blind date she went on previously before, Cantrell is very stable. And then her keeper, Tabari, likes to crack a lot of jokes and have fun. That's all good and stuff. It's okay. But she said she needs to see more of a serious side from him. Then Vernisha says, I even had someone else's attention. So Ashley's like, ooh, girl, tell me who. So Vernisha replies saying that Mizell, he asked me for my number. So when she said that, I was like, okay, wait a minute. He is so disrespectful. You're invited to someone's party as their date. You see another woman and you already know, like, basically they're kind of cool, kind of friendly, they're friends, whatever. And they live in the house together. And you go and ask this woman for her number at where the chick is at, like, no.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
So I was like, wow, son, like, wow, like, no, he didn't. So Ashley asked Vernisha, did you give it to him? And Vernisha shakes her head like, yeah. And again, I don't like that. I just don't like how, I don't know. For me, I don't think it's right that Vernisha should be doing it. I'm under the assumption, everybody is fair game or whatever, but I don't know. Just for me personally, I'm not going to do that. I already see that you're clocking him. That's supposed to be your date. I'm not about to sit up here and go after somebody's, it's not leftovers, but I'm not going after somebody who's going after the same person. I ain't doing that. But anyway, so we jump back on over to Zadie and Sharice talking, and Sharice says that she thinks she might keep Mizell around. And I'm like, girl, he's trying to play you. He's an old player. That's all he is. And, it's kind of disappointing because I thought that, Mizell would be kind of like an upstanding type of guy, and him and Sharice hit it off. So it's kind of disappointing of where this is going. But anyway, of course, Sharice doesn't know that yet in the scene. So in Sharice's confessional, she says that Danzy is out of the picture. She's done. And Mizell has a great personality and has some of the qualities she's looking for. And I'm like, girl, if you only knew. If your girl only knew that you was dissing her to talk to me. So anyway, you think he has the qualities you're looking for, but you gonna see. Anyway, so Ashley and Vernisha, they enter the room where Zadie and Sharice are at the table, and they all start talking. So Sharice asks Vernisha, what did you think about Mizell? And so Ashley interjects and she says, I think he's a very confident man. And then Vernisha does reply and says that Mizell asked her for her number and he started texting her. And so as soon as Vernisha said that, Sharice was like, you could tell she was trying to play it off. But deep down inside, I could tell she was really, really mad and I think kind of hurt in some way. So, yeah. And I'm like, well, he didn't waste any time. He immediately started texting, Vernisha. So then she says that Mizell asked her on a date. So Sharice is kind of looking embarrassed, because she's just telling Zadia, like, oh, I like this guy, Mizell, he's mad cool. Like, he has the qualities I'm looking for. And then in comes Vernisha talking about, oh, girl, he didn't ask me for my number and asked me on a date and been hitting me up. So, that is embarrassing. So Vernisha tells her that she is considering going on a date with Mizell. And like, y'all already know how I feel. I'm not even going to repeat it, how I feel about that. To me, I kind of think it's messed up, Vernisha, but I mean, it is what it is. So Sharice says, to Vernisha, well, it's fair game, sis. And Vernisha replies saying that, he's actually been very actively texting me. So I'm like, girl, you just gonna rub it in the girl's face.
I said what I said, okay?
I don't think Vernisha was trying to rub it in her face. I really, really don't. I just think, I don't know. I just wouldn't have said that, but whatever. Because you can kind of tell Sharice was feeling some type of way about it. So I ain't even going to give her more, details about it. But that's just me though. Everybody's different. So yeah, y'all. Sorry, y'all. I'm looking at my edges and they ain't really popping like how I wanted to. But anyway, this ain't no beauty channel. So anyway. So, Sharice says, well, that's good. He's been texting you because he hasn't texted me. So now I know he's texting you now. So when they're talking, Ashley is just making this face like, ooh, this getting good, but I don't know how this gonna go down. You know how Ashley is. So then we find out that Mizell has been texting Vernisha since the birthday party the previous night. And so, Sharice, still playing it off. She's like, it's fine, it's cool, it's whatever. And so in Ashley's confessional, she says that sitting there watching Vernisha tell Sharice she wasn't sure if she was cool with that. Knowing how Sharice is, it can kind of get you together. She's just like, I don't know how this is going to be. I just don't know. So in a new scene, Tamika is back at the house with the ladies. And Ashley lets her know that Don has been taking notes and, he's been really into her, with the whole communication thing. So Tamika says to Ashley, speaking of your keeper, Kirsten, he was not at the party last night. So Ashley says she hasn't spoken to Kirsten and she can't wait to talk to him. So Tamika asks Sharice, has she spent more time with Mizell? Because she was asking for it before to spend more time with him. And so Sharice replies, she did, and she was just telling Zadia that she thinks she likes this guy. So, and y'all, Tamika is sitting down with the ladies discussing all of this stuff. So Tamika asked, all of the ladies, has any men stepped out of bounds with y'all? So Vernisha replies saying, are they out of bounds or are they fair game? And Zadia was looking all down like, oh, no, she didn't. Because as we all know, Vernisha just let Sharice know that Mizell was trying to kick it to her. So Tamika says, who? What are you talking about? And Vernisha says, Mizell. So Vernisha tells Tamika that he came up to her at the party, introduced himself, and asked her for her phone number. And she did say, I did give him my number, and he texted me and asked me on a date. And, I basically told him I'm open to it. So Tamika is shocked. She's like, wait a minute, what? So she turns around to Sharice and she's like, have you talked to Mizell since? And she replies, no. So Tamika asks, does he not know that y'all talk? Because exactly. Because they're in the same house together, they're cool or whatever. And did he not think that Vernisha wasn't going to say anything? But anyway, so she says, I don't know what he knows because I haven't talked to him that much. So in Sharice's confessional, she says she is definitely irritated at the lack of respect by Mizell, because you were too busy giving out your number and she thought at the party you guys were getting close. And so she's not looking forward to their upcoming mixer that's about to happen because she has, mixed emotions about it. So next, the men arrive because you guys already know what's going to happen. The ladies have to tell the men either they're going to keep them or they're going to make a move. So that's why they're arriving at the house, all of their keepers. So the men arrive, the ladies greet the men, and we see Kirsten. He comes and he goes up to Ashley and he's like, how was your day? So she says, my day was good. And he says, it's good seeing you today. And she says, well, I didn't see you yesterday. And he's like, well, yesterday I couldn't make it to the event. And then she replies to him saying that also you didn't even reach out at all. So he says he was busy. She's like, oh, you were that busy? And he says no. And then we switch on over to a new scene and we see Charisse and Mizell. And he tells her that it's so good to see you. And, she replies, are you sure? So he's like, yeah, definitely it's good to see you. So Charisse is like, yeah, okay. So she's like, well, you didn't call me today. So Mizell then says, it was late. And then she says, well, I heard you called other people. Then he's like, I didn't call anybody. And so I'm like, he needs to stop. You technically didn't call anybody, but you definitely have been communicating with someone. Oh, Lord help us. Anyway, so Charisse tells Mizell, that honesty is a big thing for her. And then he tells her that, I did text this morning for sure. And, of course, he's talking about Vernisha. So she says that, it was a surprise that, that you wanted to go out with somebody else. So once she brings that up, he starts stuttering, child. He barely can talk because he knows he got caught. So she then asks him, well, where do we go from here? And I'm like, Charisse, why are you asking him where do we go from here? You don't go anywhere. That person tried to play you out at the party while you were there by asking old girl for her number and then hitting her up, didn't even hit you up, and then asking her on a date. We ain't going nowhere. I don't know why she said that. But anyway, so Tamika's just watching the exchange because, of course, Tamika already knows what happened. So then she goes over to them. So Tamika says to Mizell, what happened? So he says, we talked about the exchange of numbers between myself and Vernisha, and I gave my number to her because I lost my bag at the party. So already you can kind of tell that's not the full true story. So then he says he ended up staying at the party until midnight because he was unable to leave due to his bag being missing. And then he saw Vernisha walk downstairs with him and asked, did he lose his bag? And when she asked him that, it was kind of endearing to him. That's what he said. So Tamika says, I get the intention on what you're trying to say, but I don't believe it. And I need honesty. So he says, how about I was under the impression that Mizell says, I thought I was under the impression that I could basically ask other women out that's here on a date. So Tamika says you can, but you have to be honest with your original date, the person you went out with. You just need to be honest. And all you had to say to Charisse was, do you mind if I get Vernisha's number? Because I think I would like to talk to her for a little bit. Because, it's a respect thing. That's what you should have done. So he's over there trying to act like he don't know what Tamika's talking about and stuff like that. So if it was me in that case, and if I was Charisse, I would have said this to myself. I would have been like, it was nice meeting you. I enjoyed spending time with you. But let me make the decision for you. I think it's best you explore other connections somewhere else. And, let's just leave on a good note. I wish you the best and take care. That's what I would have done. So once Tamika leaves, Charisse goes and sits down with Mizell and she lets him know that, she's not feeling their connection anymore because of what happened. And she lets him know that she's going to move in a different direction. So he's trying to act all shocked like, oh, wow, like really? You're going to move in a different direction? But, it's okay. So he leaves. Next, we see Zadia and Cameron sit down, and she says that she appreciates that he's making time for her. And then while she's talking, he interjects and he says, no, not make time. I create the time. And she's just looking at him like, yeah, okay. So then he tells her, he's had reservations on if he should be taking his time away from what he's doing. But whenever he sees her, when he walks up, he's like, yeah, like I'm doing the right thing. So that was cute. And then he also says that it's worth the effort he's putting into spending time with her. And so, of course, you know, she just melts, y'all. And she does let him know she's going to keep him around, as if we didn't already know. So they kiss and hug, and it's like really cute, you know. But still, Cameron, I still got my eye on you, because this whole thing about making time, like I said, a man has autonomy over his time, whether he's an entrepreneur or whether he has, you know, a traditional 9-to-5 job. Everybody has autonomy over their time. So I don't want to hear nothing about trying to create and make time. You make and create time for what you want to do. Anyway, off of my little rant. So anyway, next we see Ashley and Kirsten. They're still talking. So he lets her know, you know, I'm sorry for not showing up. You know, can you forgive me? And I'm going to do better. So she says, you know, what does that mean? Because words mean nothing if you don't have any action behind it. So, you know, he's trying to make it up to her, but, you know, she just let him know straight up, I'm going to move in a different direction. So she doesn't keep him, and she lets him go. So then after she says that, he's going to say, you know, if that's how you feel, then I have to respect it. So Ashley gets upset because she's like, what do you mean if that's how I feel? Like, what are you talking about? And then she says she's also upset with him because he just kind of let her go. He didn't fight for her. And I'm like, Ashley, he's not going to. He wasn't interested. And honestly, Kirsten wasn't interested from the start. Let's all be honest here. He wasn't. So he's not going to fight for you. He's already showing you what it is. Anyway, so he leaves. And then next we see Tamika ask Ashley, you know, what happened between her and Kirsten. So she lets him know the whole ordeal. And she tells her that she does like him. And Tamika's like, no, you don't like him. You like the idea of him. But you need somebody to show up for you every day and to choose you. And old boy wasn't doing it. So Ashley understands. She's like, yeah, you're right. So next we see Bernicia talking to Tabari, and she lets him know that she's deciding to keep him around. So he's happy. He gives her a kiss on the cheek, and they both seem relieved by it. So out of nowhere, Donald walks into the house, and we find out the reason why he's even there is because Tamika called him up to come see Ashley. So Ashley is shocked and is like, okay, why are you here? And she asks him, you know, where have you been? And he lets her know that he received a phone call from Tamika. So she's like, you dropped everything for me, you know, to like come over? And he replies, I did. So she lets him know that she has been choosing him more, and he's been very consistent. So she asked him, you know, what do you want from me? And he says, I want a solid friendship and to organically grow into a happy relationship. So Ashley lets them know that she enjoys how he makes her feel, and she loves the fact that, he understood about that whole communication issue that they had, and that he has completely done the 360. And then she lets them know she's gonna keep him around. So I already knew that was gonna happen, and so they hug it out, y'all. Yeah. So in a new scene, we see Bernicia and Ashley walking together. They're outside somewhere. And then we find out they're going on a blind date with two new guys. So we learn that Ashley's date is Trey, that's his name, and he's 38 years old and a personal trainer. And then we learn Bernicia's date, his name is Mike, he's 31 and a project manager. So they meet up at some type of building, and they walk into a dance class where they're all gonna take dancing lessons. So, as the date is progressing, all four of them are dancing and having a great time. And then after their lessons are over, they're all talking. So Ashley asks them, why are you guys single? So her date, Trey, he says that he was in a relationship for 3 years. And then Bernicia's date, Mike, replies stating that he was in a relationship for 6 years. So Vernisha asked him, she was like, well, why didn't you get married? And he says he was hoping to, but I guess the relationship was a roller coaster and it didn't work out. So then the guys tell them their ages, and as soon as Vernisha found out that Mike was 31, she says in her confessional that his age is a deal breaker and it's no. I guess he's like, just too young for her. So, the date progresses, they're talking, they're having a good time, but they leave. And I could tell that Vernisha just wasn't like interested in them. I think she did say that Trey was attractive, but overall, I could just kind of tell. I don't know. I don't even know if Ashley was really that interested, to be honest. But yeah, it was just a cool date. It wasn't nothing like, oh my gosh, this was great. It was just cool, whatever. So anyway, in a new scene, we see Zadie and Charisse walking together to a pottery place. And we learn that they're going to a pottery class, and they're actually going on blind dates with two new guys named Will and Brandon. So Zadia and Brandon are talking and they're playing Lord have mercy. They're talking and they're playing with the clay that they're gonna make their pottery item with. So that's who her date is. And then Charisse is talking to the other date, which his name is Will, and he's 39 years old and a community engagement manager. So Will lets Charisse know that he works for a nonprofit and he works with fatherless boys. And so she asks him, what made you get into that? And he says that he has a 6-year-old child. So, immediately, I think Charisse put it that she doesn't, did she say she want to date anybody with kids? I'm not sure. Or may have been young kids. I think she's cool with adult children. But anyway, Charisse immediately asked him, she's like, well, what's going on with you and the mother? So he says that, she's a great person, but it just didn't work out for them. So in her confessional, she says that, Will is a great man and there's a lot that she likes about him. So then we jump back over to Zadia's date with Brandon, and we learn that he's 43 years old and he's a personal trainer. So he basically is telling Zadia that he's a workaholic, he's involved in things, and immediately Zadia's antennas go up and she's like, oh no. She says, like, I'm already dealing with somebody who's a workaholic and who's trying to make time for me, and I do not want to be with another person who is another workaholic. Like, I'm just not trying to deal with that. So back on over to Will and Charisse's date, he asked her, would you ever move from Miami? So she replies, that she is considering it, but it would be a lot for her because she does have a business back in Miami and she would have to start all over again. So then he lets her know, if she were to move, she would be taken care of, like he would take care of her. So I was like, okay, Will, that was nice. And a woman wants to kind of feel secure. I mean, that's one of our needs. We want to feel secured and we want to feel taken care of by the man that we're with. And so I thought that was, pretty cool that he said that. So anyway, we jump back on over to a new scene and we see Don, Donald at his house preparing a dinner. He has a table laid out with food. I believe he had candles. And so we learned that he prepared a dinner date for he and Ashley. So Ashley arrives to his house and they sit down and they start eating their food. And so Ashley lets him know, your food is pretty good. You did a good job with the cooking. So he all of a sudden brings out a deck of cards and, they are going to play a game, he says. So basically with the deck of cards, there's questions on the back of them, and some are like kind of like intimate questions and some are like dating questions. And so they each have to ask each other the questions on the card, and then that person has to answer it. So that's basically the gist of the game. So one of the questions that Ashley asked him that's on the back of the card is, who has hurt you and what have you done to heal? So he replies saying that, each of his relationships got progressively worse. He's never been in a healthy relationship ever. And I was like, oh, wow. And he said that the last one he was in hurt the worst. And once he ended it, he started doing a bunch of self-reflection. And that's where the healing part was on him. So that's where it came from. So he did say he has gotten better. So Ashley's like, okay, good. As long as you healed, you getting better, we all good. So then Ashley asked him another question, and she says, what is one thing you haven't revealed about yourself? So he says, oh, I told you I was married before, right? And immediately I was like, wait, what? And then even Ashley said, she was like, what? So Ashley is completely shocked. I know us as the viewers were shocked. I'm like, you didn't tell none of us this. It's so funny, like I'm in the show. You didn't tell her this. And so then he gonna say to her, he was like, didn't I tell you? And she's like, no, you didn't tell me that you were married.
And this is how it felt.
Really?
She's explaining it to you.
Yeah, I'm just saying really.
So y'all, and scene. So overall, y'all, I would give this episode an 8. I think this is the highest scored episode I've done. But yeah, I would give this episode an 8. It was pretty good, especially that whole thing with Mizell and Vernisha. I didn't like that, and I'm sorry, I didn't like how Vernisha went about it. It is what it is. I do like the fact that she did tell Charisse, but personally for me, I'm just not gonna go after the guy that I know that you are like building a connection with and that you like. But anyway, I'm not even gonna go back there. I already said what I wanted to say about it. So I'm glad Charisse got rid of Mizell, because absolutely not. Don and Ashley, we gonna see next week what that whole thing is about. You know, Zadia and Cameron, they still got their little thing going. And yeah, we'll see what's gonna go on with Vernisha and Tabari. Who knows, y'all? But yeah, overall, I give this episode an 8. But anyway, y'all, thank you guys so much for tuning in to my recap this week. You know, thank you guys so much. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can be informed whenever I upload a new video. Also, to comment below, tell me your thoughts on this week's episode. And what do you guys think about, Ashley always in something. But anyway, tell me what you think about, this whole Don being married before and didn't tell nobody about it. But anyway, before I go, of course, I'd love to leave you guys off with a prayer. And so here it goes. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace and protection. This is my prayer over your life. In Jesus' name, amen. So take care, everyone. I'll see you guys in my next recap. And yeah, see ya. Bye.